everyone, this is Basil the Ortho Biker. Go ahead and pull up a chair and let Father Basil tell you the tale of the misfit spark plug. So, as some of you may be aware, I've been in the process of ordering parts and doing some major and a couple minor upgrades to the motorcycle, just making little improvements here and there where possible. Why are you going so slow? Every time I come on the road, I get behind a slow truck. Oh God, he's going the same direction. Anyways, I'm gonna pass this guy the moment I get a chance. So, where was I? In the process of doing little minor upgrades, I've got the clutch pack, I got the iridium spark plugs, I got the performance oil filter, I'm still working on the 2-in-1 exhaust, I got suspension on its way, just slowly laying the foundation like I talked about in my previous video, which, if you haven't seen it, should be up here in a corner somewhere. I'm not really sure which corner, but we'll figure it out later. But last week, on Tuesday, I figured I will go ahead and replace my spark plugs on my lunch break. I figured that would be an easy swap. So I get home, I scarf down some food, sit down in front of the bike, and unscrew the disconnect the spark plug wires, unscrew the old spark plugs. Now I looked at the old ones, they were kind of carboned up as expected, but they were old, and in fact those are the original factory plugs. So I ordered the iridium spark plugs from DAG Specialties, specially made and gapped for the Sportster. This is a normal practice I have on any engine I work on and doing spark plug works with. I screw it in, snug it, and unscrew it, clean the threads on the spark plug, and screw it back in and snug it down. Now when I mean screw it in, I tighten it by hand as far as humanly possible. And the rear one, I was able to get it all the way in. Snugged it. I did the same thing on the front. I got most of the way down, say about halfway, 2/3 of the way down by hand. And I snugged the rest by socket wrench. And I got the spark plug socket going on my... Let's get by this guy. I got the spark plug socket going on 3/8 wrench. So I tighten it down, and I start to back it up. I get about 5-6 turns backing out, and the spark plug seizes. I'm like, what? So I tighten it back down, it gets 2 turns, not even the full way down, and it seizes. I'm like, uh-oh. And so I try to back it out again, and it won't move forward or back. I'm like, what the heck? It went in perfectly fine. It wasn't even difficult getting it in. There was no indication anything was being threaded. Or cross-threaded, rather. So I am utterly confused at this point. So I used my phone a friend, call Dave. Dave, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And he's just as confused as I am. So he suggested working it back and forth to get it out. And he offered to stop by on his way to taking his wife to work. So I'm like, okay. So while I'm waiting for him, and keep in mind, this is like the last 15 minutes of my lunch break. I'm supposed to be back at work already. I'm like, no. So I work it back and forth, and I literally get the spark plug out like 2 minutes before Dave gets there. And he pulls up, he looks at it. The threads inside the head are completely destroyed. I have no idea how this happened. Well, I mean, I know how it happened, but I don't know what caused it. The majority of it was threaded in by hand, and I don't have Hulk hands, so I don't know how I destroyed the threads. So he says bring it by the shop tomorrow, and we'll get it worked out. Well, I'm impatient. So I'm sitting at work, and my brain automatically goes to the worst place possible. I'm like, I'm gonna need new heads. And guess what? You cannot find heads for this motorcycle unless you A, buy them used for 500 bucks on eBay, or B, shell out 1,300 bucks for the Harley Davidson Screaming Eagle, you know, big bore kit, which does include heads. So I'm dreading the worst. End of the workday comes, I drive home in my car, I sit in front of my TV, and a thought popped into my head. Back when I used to build airplanes, an old timer that I worked with said, if the bolt is hard enough to screw up the hole, the bolt is hard enough to fix it. Oh my gosh, notice you're doing 10 under the speed limit. Why? It's the curse of black trucks today. I don't get it. Anyways, so I spend about 20 minutes. I find the original threads or starting point on the spark plug, and I tighten it down like 2-3 turns, untighten it, brush out the threads on the hole, brush out the threads on the spark plug, and repeat. I do that for 2 hours, and I'm finally able to work the spark plug all the way back in. Now at the end of that, I worked it out, worked it back in like 3 separate times, so making sure the spark plug can get all the way out and all the way back in, not seize again. And so I can get it in halfway by hand, and maybe all the way down except the last 2-3 turns with barely any pressure from the spark plug, and the last 2-3 turns were kind of rough. After I get the spark plug in, I take it for a test ride, and side note, if you do not have iridium spark plugs, dear Lord, get them. They are amazing. There's a noticeable, just a slight oomph in power on the bike. I'm guessing because the explosions on the bike have improved by the gapping on the spark plug, the iridium, the efficiency. I don't know what the reasons are. I'm not an engineer or technician, but there is just a very slight yet noticeable increase in power. So if you don't have iridium spark plugs, I highly recommend you get them. In any case, so we get the bike to Dave, and he cleans out the threads for me, and nice of him, he does the throttle adjustments. I am lazy. I don't do my throttle adjustments like I should, and after the spark plugs and the throttle cable adjustment, man, my bike rides like new. It's like more power, just more like more air to the bike. Also, side note is that is the position I tuned the bike in, so yeah, pay attention to your throttle cable, kids, because if you don't keep it adjusted to where you tuned your bike doesn't really run as well as it used to. It doesn't run badly, just not as well. It accelerates so much better now and runs a lot smoother than it did before. So, what was supposed to be a 15-minute job stretched over 24 hours as one spark plug decided to cross-thread itself into my head. And it's just so frustrating. So don't cross the threads, kids. It leads to bad juju on the motorcycle. Also, get iridium spark plugs. It leads to more power on the motorcycle. And I actually checked the Drag Specialties website, and it does list like 2 or 3 additional horsepower increase on the motorcycle, and that's like a 5 to 7% increase on the Sportster, so I'll take it. But yeah, the throttle is definitely smoother with these spark plugs. It's probably because those spark plugs have been in there for 15,000 miles, and you're supposed to change them every 7 to 10, I think, or at least the non-iridium ones. Maybe even more than that, I don't know. Just little maintenance bits I neglect. PSA, do all your maintenance and your bike will run amazingly well. But anyways, so I've got all the parts, the clutch pack, the oil, the gasket, the O-rings, the tool, the suspension's on its way. I'm still on the fence about which exhaust to get. Watched a video by somebody, I think it was Jixerfu, who mentioned the headers on the Harleys actually being surprisingly good. So for now, I think I'm going to keep the slip-ons I have, because I've got the Thunder Torque inserts and I love the way they sound. But I will eventually have to get that 2-in-1 for the greatest power increase when I do the big bore kit. And I may eventually get it before that. But right now, my bike's in a place where I like it. It's not running horribly. And I think once I get the clutch pack and the suspension, I don't have to worry about the bike exploding, and I can go ahead and maybe lean the bike in a little bit more than I usually do, because I got the maybe additional 2 inches of clearance. Anyways, I just wanted to vent about the spark plug. I don't really have any major updates for the bike or the channel or anything else. Do your maintenance, don't cross the threads, and that's about it. Oh, I'm still in city limits. Dial it down, dial it down. Anyways, if you like my ramblings, my stories, you want to hear more, you want to join me in my adventures, you want to follow along where I start to ride the Ozarks later this year, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon in the lower right hand corner, get notifications of any videos I may put out in the future. As always, keep the 2 wheels on the ground, shiny side up, and ride safe. Peace out. Why do I have to get stuck behind every slow truck on the road today? At least this one's blue. Oh, black and blue. They're all beating the crap out of me. My ego is getting bruised.